Welcome back on the Bruin Insider Show alongside the former UCLA quarterback and sideline analyst Wayne Cook. I'm Nick Koop. UCLA getting ready to take on Northwestern coming off their bye week. And it's great now to catch up with the new interim head coach of your Bruins. He is Tim Skipper. Coach, great to meet you. How has the last week been to be Tim Skipper?
It's definitely great to meet you. That might be the highlight of my time taking over. But it's my phones. I have two phones, and both of them have blown up. A lot of texts, a lot of calls, a lot of inspiration. And then it's been, man, just hit the ground running and try to tweak things and talk to all the players. You know, that's the hardest part, is trying to get everybody in a short amount of time just to get face-to-face with them a little bit. And then you actually get out in the field, and now you have to start practicing and getting the juice and the energy going and all that stuff. And it's been interesting, but it's been fun. I'm enjoying it. I love coaching. I love tough challenges and things like that. So just another obstacle we got to overcome.
Coach, so we just introduced ourselves off the air. Now that we're on the air, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm not going to lie. I did not know you were even on the staff. And I know of you because we know some of the, I have a buddy that played baseball at Fresno State. He's like, man, we loved him. I know Terry Toomey really well. It was one of my favorite Bruins of all time. So we may know some of the same people, but I am the guy. You'll see me at the games. The tall, gray-haired guy will be holding the microphone when you come out after halftime to ask you a couple questions on the air about how well we're playing, because it's what I'm going to ask you. Hey, Coach, great first half. How, what's going right, whatever. So anyway, that's me. It's a pleasure to meet you. You're experienced at this. All the people I talked to at Fresno State that I know, that you've done this. You've been around some great coaches, but you've been asked to be the interim coach before and had some success. This is probably a little bit different. I know I heard you say that it's never easy to be the interim because something had to have happened.
Yeah.
But if you could compare the two scenarios and maybe what you learned from the first time through it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, I said earlier, whenever you hear an interim, that means something's not going right. So stepping into that role, you need to understand that. You need to embrace it, and you need to stare it right in the face and just talk about it. I think that's the biggest thing, is talk about why we're in this situation and then how we're going to get ourselves out of it. You got to find your why. I will say this. I did this at Fresno State as an interim coach, and I am light years ahead of where I was then. Just simple questions. I was kind of like, well, let me find out. Now I can kind of answer. I have some faith in what I'm saying. I can answer the simple stuff a lot easier and try to get to the complicated stuff a lot sooner. But it was literally drinking out of a fire hydrant when I first did this thing. I'm a lot more comfortable. I have plans, I have practice plans and all these. I know how we're going to travel. I have all these ideas already. Before, I didn't even know we were going to eat for lunch. I had no clue, any of that. So I'm way ahead. I'm very comfortable, but it's still a challenge. It's never going to be easy. I don't care how many times you do it or whatever. So just embracing it and taking it day by day.
You've coached all around the country. The ties, obviously, to Fresno State. I wonder what it was like playing for and then coaching for Pat Hill, a guy that I know Wayne and I both really respect what he did as a head coach for the Bulldogs.
Definitely. He's tough, physical, crazy. That's his mentality. He's the same with me as a player and as a coach. He doesn't change. He's one way. And he's a straight-up guy. He's going to look you right in the eye, and he's going to ask the tough questions. And he's going to know if you're trying to lie to him. So a lot of my coaching philosophies has kind of grown from that experience. I loved my time playing for him, loved my time coaching with him. And, I've talked to him probably 3-4 times since this has happened. So he's always been in my life since 1997, and he's a good asset to have.
I want to stay on that topic because I think about Coach, you're about my 7th or 8th coach I've gone through as a sideline reporter and some of the interviews coaches. One of the things that I've always enjoyed about my job is, for one, I don't always have to be right, which is a little bit easier for a coach. As a broadcaster, I can be wrong and get away with it sometimes. But the idea is that I learned so much from all the different personalities I've covered. just like you talked about when we're players. So I want you to dig a little bit deeper. I know that Pat Hill is one of the coaches, but you've been around some other pretty significant minds of the game. I'm just curious if you could just name a few of those coaches that really had a solid impact on kind of turning you into the coach you are today.
Definitely. I think that needs to start with my family. My dad coached in the NFL for many decades. It all started with him when I was younger and seeing him leaving. Or sometimes I wouldn't even see him. He was working late and he was leaving early, so I didn't even know where he was. Then he'd come home and act like he wasn't tired and hang out with us, just the work ethic part of it. I think I get a lot of that from my dad. And just talking ball, like we talk ball all the time, scenarios, situations, all that stuff has been awesome for me to grow up in a household like that. My brother's also a coach with the Buffalo Bills right now, coaching running backs. And that's where the whole connection comes with Coach Foster, because he coached him here at UCLA, and my dad coached him at the Panthers. So those would be the two coaches that I would start with. And I know you weren't necessarily thinking family.
I love the answer.
As I get away from family now, we talked about Pat Hill, and then Jim McElwain came into my life, and he became a head coach at Colorado State, and I was there with him. And then we went to the University of Florida in the SEC, and just learning a lot of things from him. He kind of came from that Saban tree of things, so just a completely, totally different way of thinking, and just took my career to a whole nother level. And then when you started talking about the interim, I actually had the interim replace Coach Jeff Tedford, who is a master on offense, like just a master in schedules and details and all those things, which has helped me big time, especially it's helping me now. Like a lot of our practice structure and stuff comes from those days. So been around a lot of great coaches, man, and I'm blessed. I really am. And I just continue to keep learning. Even things they said that I haven't used are now coming up. So, you know, as you tell, when I was a kid, you hear people say, you're going to need this at some point, and you're like, whatever. Well, they're telling the truth because it actually comes up.
We're talking with Tim Skipper, the interim head coach for UCLA. The Bruins getting ready to take on Northwestern coming up this weekend. Kickoff at 12:30. Pregame coverage at 11 a.m. on KABC 790. You bring up your brother and your father, not only coaches, but all three of you guys also played as well. I'm just curious what it was like growing up in that household.
A lot of tackle football when we shouldn't have been getting tackled. Breaking a lot of trophies and glass and all that type of stuff. What's very interesting is, you know, we have all these dominant figures playing football and stuff, but my mom runs the show. She runs the show. Totally, without a doubt, and we all would say that. What she says goes. So when she's tired of us breaking things, she's going to end it. That type of mentality. She knows ball also. She's always asking me football stuff. But my mom runs it, so I want to make sure we get that out there. But it's kind of evolved. So, like, when I was younger, it was a competition thing. We were always competing and all that stuff. Yeah. Now, as we get older, it's changed to now let's get better. Let's get more knowledge. Let's think about things, you know, talk through tough situations. So it's just been fun to see how that whole progression has changed things and stuff. So there's nobody tackling anybody anymore.
Coach, it's funny. My dad played for the University of Arizona, and he was my high school football coach. Trust me, I know what it's like growing up, different levels, but I know what it's like being around a coach your whole life. It had a huge impact on me, and it sounds like it did on you as well. But I want to shift gears to the player mentality now. I'm gonna be an alum for a second. One of the things that I think I want, and I just want you to respond to this. I want the guys that step on the field against Northwestern to play as hard as they freaking can. I don't want to see any guys taking plays off. I don't want to see guys loafing. I don't care. I don't always care about the result. I care about guys getting after it. I don't care if it's a walk-on that hadn't played it down yet. If he's going to go out there and bust his rear end and show me that a guy's playing for the school and playing for his teammates. To me, again, we're raised by coaches. I can't handle watching players not go hard. It actually makes me sick. It makes me like not happy. So I'm just curious how you would respond to that from maybe an alumni like me saying, hey, I want to see guys out there getting after it.
Absolutely. And not just an alumni, the former player in you. When you strap it up, you know how you're supposed to play. You know what's on the line. But for me, it's a big thing. And then the first team meeting we had, it was play hard, play smart, and play fast. And we need to do that. It's not the X's and O's. Everybody thinks the X's and O's and all these cute systems and all that stuff has nothing to do with it at all. You have to play with some heart, some energy, some passion. And when you get that to happen, you're always going to be rising. That's the next thing. You always are getting better. You're getting better in a meeting, and then you take it to the field. When the field's over, you get back in another meeting. And then tomorrow needs to be better than yesterday. It's like always that stuff, You just keep on rising. But the energy and passion has to be there. You have to talk that way. You have to play that way. You have to earn that. And to me, you have a name on the back of your jersey. You need to represent that also. Represent your family. Show how you were raised up. Show the energy. Show how you learn how to play this game. That's major and huge. So we've talked a lot about that. We practice that way. We have some drills that are built in to kind of get the energy going and that sort of stuff, and to get the guys that aren't really buying in to stick out so they cannot get on the field. I think.
Hey, quick, Nick, I have to ask a follow-up because I love – and by the way, I'm sorry, Nick, I didn't mean to do this to you here. But there's such a good follow-up, Coach. Like, I could geek out talking ball all day with you. But – this idea of that people feel like you have to trick people all the time. I'm like, man, you can run 10 really good offensive plays and 10 really good – you can run your base defense the whole game. And if you have guys getting after it, you can still be successful. I mean, I know it's maybe a little bit more complicated than that. I've always laughed at people thinking you have to somehow outsmart everybody on every play. And for those of us that have played, I don't care if the defense knows what we're running.
Yeah.
If we run it right, we're still going to beat you.
Exactly.
And I think people lose sight of that sometimes.
No doubt. It's all just put the ball down mentality, man. Just put the ball down. We're going to be fine. On offense, we're going to go forward, and on defense, we're going to knock you backwards. Plain and simple. We don't have to do all kinds of tricky stuff to do that, but we do need to play hard. We need to play fast. We need to play physical, all that stuff. But when you make it very complicated, now everybody's starting to think. Even the coaches are thinking. When you have the coaches thinking and the players thinking, that's a bad combination. We just need to let loose. We're just going to call what we practice and let's go get it.
Okay.
In your initial response to Wayne, you did throw out the word smart. And one of the bugaboos for this team has been penalties, 27 of them over the last 2 games. As a coach, what's your philosophy? How do you work to try and bring that number down and as low as it can be?
Yeah, I think you need to talk about it first off. A lot of people say, if you talk about it, it's just going to get worse and all that stuff. No, I don't believe in that. I think you got to present it. So we were in a team meeting. We had 29 total penalties. 12 of them are pre-snap. 12 of them pre-snap. I think it was 9 of them were false starts. We had 2 offsides, and we had 1 legal formation. That's the 12. So those are penalties we control. Judgment ones, they're going to happen sometimes. The ref thought you grabbed, you didn't, or whatever, da-da-da-da. But the pre-snap ones, that's us. That is us. We control it. It's the only person you can look at is us. So those are the ones that we have really concentrated on. And to speak to the credit of the players, it's been good out at practice. We haven't had any issues like that. But I think the other thing is when they happen, something needs to happen. It's not okay to say, oh, shucks, I jumped. No, your legs are going to feel this one. You're going to go run around the goalpost or something so that you don't do it again. So I think you have to have some kind of punishment in line that the whole team sees it, and you have to talk about it. I think those are 2 main things in order to get it corrected.
Coach, in the era of transfers and NIL, I've been saying this for a few years now, like players start transferring when they're in Pop Warner now. They start looking for where can I go and win every football game I play. I teach 8th grade. I just told some of the kids, they all raised their hand about their weekend and said, my team won. I said, did anybody have to suffer through a loss, where you can grow and learn? And it's almost like it's manufactured now. And I think sometimes when you get these kids in college, say, hey, man, I remember, I don't know about you, but I remember missing study hall and running at 5 o'clock in the morning with the great Wayne Moses, great running back coach, until I felt like I was going to throw up. And he would look at me and say, Cookie, man, you're making me wake up early. Just show up on time but I learned so much from that because they were holding me accountable. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's more of a challenge than maybe it was when you played and when I played?
Absolutely. And what I'm noticing is more guys aren't listening to coaches. Because they just go and they get a new coach. They think coach is just always going to be there. When we were playing, you always had the same coach, and you grew in a relationship and you grew to trust them just like you do with family, with your parents and your brothers and sisters. You kind of lose that. I mean, guys are transferring like 3, 4, 5 times now. Like that's getting out of hand. Yeah. So there's no relationships being built. So they don't even know who to trust. I think that's the biggest flaw in everything is just that. Yeah. For one, the coaches and players aren't building the nice, close relationships, and then the fans aren't able to get attached to players, you know.
Yeah.
I know who number 2 is for 4 or 5 years. Now you don't have that anymore. The jersey numbers are changing. There's new bodies in there. So we are losing the connection, the human connection from all kinds of different angles. That's what makes me sad about it. But hopefully we can get it all slowed down a little bit.
Now to the task at hand, coming up this weekend out in Chicago, Evanston taking on Northwestern. What have you seen from the Wildcats looking on film? What do you think are going to be some of the keys going into this one?
They are a very fundamentally sound team. That's the first thing I look at. Are they disciplined? You know, do they have all the penalties? Do they do things like that? They are very well coached. I mean, they really are in all 3 phases. So we are going to have to show that in these last 2 weeks we've gotten better in some areas and be ready to go on the road with that type of thing. Their offense, you know, they're gonna keep that ball on the ground. They're gonna let the clock run. They're gonna try to eat you up. They're gonna try to test your manhood a little bit, and we're gonna need to get ready for that. We're gonna have to tackle these good backs. I mean, they have some really good backs. Their interior line are real nasty. That's gonna be a challenge for us. We're gonna need to step up to the plate with that, and we'll see how we do. We've been preparing for that, and I'm excited to watch us get out there and handle that part of it. On defense, they're not going to trick you. Like we were talking about tricking everything. They're going to get in their 4-down stuff. They're going to play shell, and they're going to say, you're going to have to try to beat us. We're not going to let you just have easy, explosive plays. So they do a good job with that. They're going to move the front a little bit, but their edge guys are extremely good. I mean, extremely good. We're going to have to contain those guys. They changed the game. I don't care who they're playing. All 3 games that we watched, they've been impact players on that. So we are going to have to play good ball. I think special teams is really going to be a grudge match. It's pretty similar in what each side does. Both are very good at it. So it's going to be a game where who's going to make the critical plays at the critical situation times. And hopefully we can do that.
Coach, I just want to compliment you for a second before I answer the question. I heard some of the things you talked about with Coach Foster, and I know your relationship, and I know that as a person that I've talked to a lot when he was a running back coach and as a head coach, and I love Deshaun. He's a great guy, and I think he gave it everything he had. So I appreciate everything that you said about him, because just because a coach didn't end up the way it was supposed to, he's still a great Bruin, and he still brought it every day. And to be honest, it didn't work out, but we can still think of him, the way we should. That being said, and you can comment on that too after I ask the question also. That being said, changes in this week leading up to into the game. This is going to be the most extensive travel that we've done all year. UNLV was pretty close, going off to the other side of the country and a long trip. Can you maybe talk about some changes in practice structure? I heard there were some drills going on. Maybe there's more hitting because tackling hasn't exactly been great. Some of the changes, some of the tweaks that you've brought in from all those years of experience that you talked about.
Definitely. Where do I want to start? Let's go with Foss. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you this right now. Foss is a great coach. Everybody wants to talk about him as a player and things like that, but he had a lot of ideas, a lot of things that he wanted to do, and he implemented them. And whether you say he ran out of time, didn't get it done quick enough, whatever, but it was a lot of stuff. Like I learned a lot in my short time here, 2 months or whatever it was. I learned a lot from him. I also think he's a great ambassador for UCLA. Hopefully he stays engaged with him. He's done a lot of great things. He's going to do even more great things, and I just think it's important to keep him connected. I went through this similar type of thing at Fresno State, and I just think, you work, and we all work. We work a job, right? Doesn't work out the way you want it to, whatever. You move on, but that doesn't mean we got to hate each other. So hopefully there's some love and things that move forward with that whole situation. As far as the question, so I think the bye week actually helped for this first road trip. So I don't even think of it as a short week or anything like that. The thing that's a little different for me is we're leaving on a Thursday for a Saturday game. So we will get all our practices in here that we normally would up to Thursday, but then on Friday we have to practice at a high school in order to do like our mock game type stuff, scenario things. So that'll be a little different. And, high schools, they line the fields a little different. The hashes are different in the numbers. So we're going to have to manufacture that part of it. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I've done that before, but this team hasn't had to do that. So that'll be an interesting part of it. But I think we will be prepared totally like it was a normal week because we had the bye week. So we're not going to be short any practices, anything like that. We did do a lot of live stuff last week. I mean, we tackled live to the ground, or you got ran over to the ground, however you want to look at it. We just played ball. We wanted to go out there and play ball and play fast, kind of find our identity. So we did that. Our style of play is where we want it to be right now. Now we need to carry it over to these next 3 days of practice and get out to Chicago and let it get out there on display.
All right, Coach, we appreciate your time. So great to meet you. Really looking forward to seeing you guys on the field, and good luck out there. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's great being with you guys.